At a family dinner, Grandma said, "I'm glad the $1,200 a month is helping." I froze. "I never got a dime," I said. My brother stared down at his plate. My parents went silent, and then came the bomb. There are some betrayals so deep, they don't just break your heart, they reshape your entire understanding of family. I thought I knew what struggling meant, what character building felt like. Turns out, my parents had a much crueler lesson planned, one that nearly cost me everything. It was Grandma Lorraine's 71st birthday. The crystal chandelier in her dining room cast this warm, golden light over everything, but I was just trying to smooth out my cheapest, most wrinkled blouse. My stomach was growling. 3 jobs that week had left little time for actual meals. But tonight was special, right? Then my brother, Clark, totally oblivious, announced, gesturing with his fork, and then the client actually tried to argue with me about the contract language I wrote. Can you imagine? I shut that down fast. My dad just beamed like he always did. That's my boy. Always the smartest person in the room. I had to bite my tongue to keep from rolling my eyes. Clark, who never even finished his degree, somehow landed this cushy job at Dad's friend's insurance office. He'd talk with such authority about things he clearly barely understood, but Mom and Dad, they hung on his every word. Grandma Lorraine rose to cut her cake, and I caught Mom and Dad exchanging that glance, a silent, loaded communication that made Mom's fingers tighten around her water glass, Dad's shoulders stiffen. I'd seen that dance before. Their shared secrets always created these invisible walls around them. "Small piece for me, sweetie." Grandma winked at Mom, looking my way. "Got to watch my figure at 70. I smiled back, genuinely grateful for her. My parents' love always felt conditional, but Grandma's warmth always wrapped around me like my favorite quilt from childhood. Clark, of course, dominated the conversation through dessert, describing his golf game with Dad's business associates. I just pushed cake around my plate, my mind doing the usual calculations. Could I stretch my last $20 until payday on Friday? Then, Grandma's voice cut through my mental math. "Rhea, honey, I meant to ask you, is the $1,200 I send you every month still enough for your expenses? College costs keep rising and I worry." My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. The dining room plunged into a silence so absolute, I could literally hear the grandfather clock ticking in the hallway. "What money, Grandma?" My voice sounded strange, distant, like it wasn't even mine. Mom's face strained of color. Dad suddenly found the ceiling molding utterly fascinating. "Clark?" He became intensely interested in folding his napkin into smaller and smaller squares. Grandma Lorraine looked from me to my parents, confusion creasing her forehead. "The monthly allowance I've been sending for the past 2 years. For your education and living expenses." The cake in my stomach turned to cement. "I haven't received any money from you, Grandma." Lorraine's expression hardened as understanding dawned on her. Her hand reached for mine across the table. "Richard? Diana? Would you care to explain?" Mom cleared her throat. "Mother, perhaps we should discuss this privately." "No." Grandma's voice cut like steel. "I think Rhea deserves to hear this." Dad shifted in his chair. "We've been temporarily borrowing the funds, just until we get back on our feet." Borrowing. The word tasted bitter on my tongue. "For how long?" Mom stared at her plate. "The full 2 years. 24 months, $1,200 each month." The numbers spiraled through my mind like falling dominoes. $28,800. "You've taken nearly $30,000 meant for me?" My voice cracked. "While I've been working 3 jobs? Skipping meals?" The memory hit me with physical force. Last winter, huddled in my unheated apartment, eating day-old bakery scraps my boss let me take home, choosing between textbooks and winter boots. The shame of borrowing $300 from my roommate Talia for a laptop when mine died. Mid-semester. Clark had some gambling debts, Mom whispered. We couldn't let him face those consequences. The room tilted slightly. Clark. Always Clark. You've managed fine without it. Dad said, waving his hand dismissively. Built some character. Character, as if my hunger was some kind of character development in their twisted family drama. You've managed fine without it? I repeated slowly, the sarcasm dripping. While I ate. Expired food? While I worked until 2 a.m. before exams. Clark needed emergency help, Mom interjected. His situation was different. I thought of my swollen feet after double shifts. The nights I cried from exhaustion. The scholarship I lost when my grades slipped because I literally couldn't stay awake to study. While I was skipping meals? The words emerged stronger now, my voice finding its foundation, its fury. Grandma Lorraine covered my hand with hers. Her fingers felt warm, solid. I had no idea. Sweet girl. No idea at all. Something shifted inside me, a tectonic plate moving after years of pressure. I met my father's eyes without flinching. For the first time, I saw not the towering figure of my childhood, but a man who failed the most basic parental duty, protecting his child. I trusted you, I told them, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. Both of you. The walls of excuses they'd built began to crumble under the weight of this simple truth. Grandma's hand squeezed mine in solidarity. I straightened my shoulders and felt something unfamiliar bloom inside me, not just anger or hurt, but a quiet, unshakable certainty. They'd made their choice. Again and again. Now, I'd make mine. The next morning, sunlight streamed through Grandma Lorraine's study windows, casting golden rectangles across the polished oak floor. I perched on the edge of a leather chair, my hands wrapped around a mug of coffee that was more for comfort than caffeine. Family photographs lined the walls, younger versions of us smiling at birthday parties and holiday gatherings. The images felt like artifacts from another family entirely. I never imagined they would do this. Grandma Lorraine pulled open her desk drawer and removed a thick manila folder. Her silver hair caught the light as she shook her head. But the evidence is undeniable. She spread bank statements across the desk. Red circles marked withdrawals dating back 5 years. The numbers blurred before my eyes, but the total hit me with physical force. $90,000? My voice cracked. That's impossible. Your college fund. Grandma's fingers traced the paper. I established it. When you were born. Your parents were trustees, but the money was legally yours at 18. I thought of the scholarship I lost last semester when my grades slipped. The student loans accumulating. Interest. The nights I fell asleep at my laptop, too exhausted to finish assignments. But what about Clark's college fund? I asked, a flicker of hope. Grandma's expression hardened. Clark never attended college, Rhea. Not one class. The room tilted slightly. But he talked about his business courses. Dad bragged about his grades. Fabrications. She slid another document forward, a credit card statement with charges from casinos, online gambling, sites, luxury purchases. This is where your education money went. My brother's voice echoed in my memory. Asterisk had to drop that economics class. Too basic for someone with my experience. Asterisk the casual eyes, told so smoothly I never questioned them. I've changed my will this morning with my lawyer, Grandma said, her voice steady. And I've arranged for direct monthly payments to you, $1,600. The money will go straight to your account. They'll be furious. My stomach clenched. Grandma reached across the desk, covering my hand with hers. Let them be. I nodded slightly, thinking of what approach to take next. I would fight them till the end. Later that day, the guest room was cool and quiet as evening shadows lengthened across the walls. I sank onto the bed, bone-tired yet restless. 3 missed calls from Mom illuminated my phone screen. I silenced it and slid open the nightstand drawer, looking for a pen. Something. Plastic clattered against wood. An old smartphone, Mom's previous model before she upgraded last Christmas. The weight of it felt strangely significant in my palm. On impulse, I pressed the Power button, surprised when the screen glowed to life. No password protection, typical. I scrolled through her text messages, not sure what I was looking for until I found it. A conversation with Dad from last January. Richard, Lorraine called asking why Ria's thanking her for money she never received. Diana, what did you tell her? Richard, that Ria must be confused. I reminded her about her memory issues. Diana, good. Let Ria think Grandma broke her promise. She'll toughen up. Richard, exactly. Clark needs this breathing room to get back on his feet. Diana, Ria will be fine. She's always been the responsible one. The phone grew heavy in my hand. My hardship wasn't circumstantial, it was engineered. They watched me struggle, knowing they caused it. They saw me skip meals, work until exhaustion, and chose to let it continue. She'll toughen up, as if my hunger was character development in there. Twisted family drama. I went to the bathroom as I suddenly could not breathe anymore. The bathroom mirror reflected a stranger, eyes ringed with shadows, cheekbones too prominent. From months of irregular meals. I gripped the sink edge, memories flooding back with brutal clarity. Flashbacks to last December, standing in the campus bookstore, calculating which textbooks I could afford, choosing between course materials and winter boots. The shame burning in my chest when I finally asked Talia for a loan. I need $300 for a laptop. I'd whispered. Unable to meet her eyes. Mine died, and I can't complete assignments without it. The contrast. Sliced through me, my desperation against Clark's protection, my struggle against his comfort. I'd worked double shifts at the bakery, serving coffee with hands raw from cleaning products, while he gambled away my future. Tears blurred my vision, but something else rose beneath the pain. A hot, clarifying anger that burned away confusion. For the first time, I saw my parents' actions. Without the filter of childhood loyalty. I splashed cold water on my face and watched the droplets trail down my skin. Something had shifted inside me, a permanent fault line separating before from after. That's when I got the idea to call my friend Talia for help. For an hour, I talked to Talia, explaining everything. They let you think she had broken her promise? Talia's voice through the phone carried the perfect balance of outrage and support. That's beyond messed up, Ria. I curled into the window seat, watching darkness settle over Grandma's garden. I still can't believe it was intentional. Believe it, Talia said firmly. And know you deserve better. Grandma knocked softly before entering with a steaming mug of tea. She held up a document with official letterhead. My lawyer will handle everything. The first transfer will complete tomorrow. A notification chimed on my phone, a bank alert. Funds received, $1,600. The number glowed on the screen, representing not just money, but something far more valuable. Freedom from desperation, security, breathing room. After Talia and I hung up, I found a small notebook in my backpack. The pages were thin and cheap, but they held my first list of boundaries. Simple statements written in blue ink. I will not accept lies. I will not protect those who harm me. I will not carry shame that isn't mine. I will not sacrifice my future for others' comfort. I closed the notebook and placed it on the nightstand. For the first time in 2 years, I slid under the covers without calculating tomorrow's work hours or worrying about upcoming bills. Sleep came swiftly, dreamless and deep, the rest of someone finally unburdened. 3 weeks later, I was gathering my courage, moving on, keeping busy. The textbook blurred before my eyes as afternoon sunlight slanted through the dorm window. My highlighter hovered over a paragraph about business ethics, a concept my parents clearly never mastered. 3 weeks had passed since Grandma Lorraine's birthday dinner revelation, and I'd almost adjusted to the strange sensation of having enough money for basic necessities. A sharp knock jolted me from my concentration. No one visited on Tuesday afternoons. Talia had lab until 4, and my study group met Thursdays. When I opened the door, my stomach dropped. Mom and Dad stood in the narrow hallway, their bodies blocking any escape route. Mom clutched her purse with white knuckles. Dad's mouth formed what he believed was a concerned smile, but looked more like a salesman's practiced pitch. "Surprise, honey," Mom said, her voice artificially bright. We were in the area. My parents had never been in the area of my campus before, not once in 2 years. "May we come in?" Dad didn't wait for an answer, shouldering past me into my cramped single room. The space shrank with their presence, the walls closing in like a trap. Mom perched on my unmade bed while Dad examined my desk, picking up my calculator as if assessing its value. My shoulders straightened. Instinctively. 2 years ago, I would have hunched inward, made myself smaller to accommodate their intrusion. "What do you want?" The directness of my question surprised even me. They exchanged a glance. The same silent communication I'd witnessed at Grandma's dinner table. "We're worried about your grandmother," Dad began, replacing my calculator with careful precision. "She's been making some concerning decisions lately." "Lorraine isn't herself," Mom added, patting the bed beside her, an invitation to join their conspiracy. "The doctor mentioned early signs of diminished capacity last year." The lie landed between us, bold and transparent. Grandma Lorraine, who solves the New York Times crossword in ink and manages her own investment portfolio, had never shown a single sign of mental decline. "This rift in the family is breaking her heart," Mom continued, dabbing at dry eyes. "Families should stick together, especially now." "What do you really want?" I remained standing, arms folded across my chest. Dad sighed heavily, abandoning the concerned act. "She's changed her will, cut us out completely. And Clark," Mom added quickly, "your brother needs help. His gambling debts have become serious. Men have threatened him." Rhea. The familiar pattern emerged. Clark's problems always superseded mine. The sun warmed my back through the window as I considered my parents, really saw them. Perhaps for the first time. "We need you to talk to her," Dad stated flatly, "convince her to reconsider." "You owe us this much," Mom added. "After everything we've sacrificed raising you." A bitter laugh escaped me. "Sacrificed? Like the $30,000 Grandma sent for my education that you stole." "Borrowed," Dad corrected, his jaw tightening. "And family helps family." "Clark's situation is—" "I know exactly what Clark's situation is." My voice gained strength with each word. "While you were borrowing my money, I worked 3 jobs. Do you know what that looks like? Let me show you." I extended my hands, palms up. The skin was rough, cracked around the knuckles from industrial dishwashing detergent. A small burn scar from the bakery oven marked my right wrist. I skipped meals to pay 4 textbooks. I wore the same 3 outfits for 2 years. I lost a scholarship because I fell asleep during an exam after working until 2 a.m. Mom's face paled. "Good, let her see the reality they created." "Your brother needed," she began. "I needed parents," I interrupted, pulling my mother's old phone from my desk drawer. "But you chose to be Clark's sponsors instead." Their eyes widened as recognition dawned. "The forgotten phone, the evidence. I found this in Grandma's guest room. You left it behind last Christmas." I opened the text message chain between them, dated 16 months earlier. Asterisk, "Let Rhea think Lorraine broke her promise. She'll toughen up. Clark needs the money more right now." Asterisk, Dad's face darkened to crimson. "You had no right to read private messages. And you had no right to steal money meant for me." His finger jabbed toward my face. "Listen here, young lady, no, you listen." The calm in my voice startled him more than any shouting could. "Family doesn't treat family this way. You made your choice. Again and again, you chose Clark. That's your right as parents. But now I'm making my choice." Mom started to cry, her shoulders shaking. Not the calculated tears of manipulation, but something genuine breaking through. "If you want any relationship with me going forward, there are conditions." I took a deep breath. "First, acknowledge what you did without excuses. Second, Family counseling, all of us. Third, you repay every cent you took from me, even if it takes years. Dad's laugh held no humor. You don't dictate terms to us. We're your parents. Parents. Protect their children, all their children. I moved toward the door, opening it wide. This conversation is over. Please leave. You ungrateful little, Dad started. Richard. Mom's hand on his arm stopped whatever venom was coming next. Her eyes met mine, something like recognition flickering there. We should go. They filed past me. Dad's anger radiating like heat. Mom's perfume lingering in the stale dorm air. The door closed with a soft click that echoed with finality. I expected tears or shaking or some physical manifestation of the confrontation. Instead, a peculiar calmness settled over me. I straightened my textbooks, smoothed my bedspread where Mom sat, and returned to my studies. An hour later, Talia burst in with her usual whirlwind energy, tossing her backpack onto her bed. Sorry I'm late. Lab ran. She stopped, studying my face. What happened? You look different. My parents stopped by. I closed my textbook. Oh God, are you okay? She dropped beside me, ready for damage control. I smiled, a real smile, not the tight-lipped version I'd perfected over years of hiding pain. I actually am. I told them to leave, set conditions for having any relationship with me going forward. Talia's eyes widened. Holy shit, Rhea, that's huge. She grinned suddenly. This calls for celebration. Pizza? My treat. Later, sprawled across our beds with a cheap pepperoni pizza between us, I described the confrontation. With each detail shared, my shoulders relaxed further, as if shedding an invisible weight I'd carried for years. That night, I slept straight through until morning 8. Uninterrupted hours without waking to anxiety or hunger or worry. The first peaceful night in 2 years. 3 weeks later, I would face new challenges, but I would be ready. The afternoon sun streamed through the library windows, casting golden rectangles across my textbook. For once, the words didn't swim before my exhausted eyes. 3 weeks had passed since the showdown in my dorm room, and small miracles bloomed around me like spring flowers after a harsh winter. I flipped to the next page of my marketing textbook, purchased new instead of borrowed from the reserve desk. The fresh paper smell mingled with library dust and someone's coffee. My stomach didn't growl as I inhaled. Real meals, 3 times daily, had become my strange new normal. Excuse me, are you Rhea Kavanaugh? I looked up to find Professor Winters standing beside my study Corel, a folder tucked under her arm. Her silver-framed glasses caught the light. Yes, that's me. Your analysis in yesterday's discussion was impressive. She tapped the folder. I have a research assistant position opening next month. 20 hours weekly, flexible schedule. Would you be interested? My pen froze above my notes. Just last semester, I'd watched classmates secure coveted positions while I rushed between jobs, too exhausted to apply. I would. Actually. The words emerged with surprising confidence. I've dropped my night job, so my schedule has some breathing room now. Professor Winters nodded, slid a card across the table. Email me your transcript. We'll talk details next week. As she walked away, I touched the embossed lettering on her card. Another small miracle, one I could actually accept. My phone vibrated. Mother's 4th voicemail this week. I silenced it without checking, no longer feeling the immediate stomach clench her calls once triggered. The countless messages followed a pattern now, concern about my irrational behavior, followed by thinly veiled guilt. Trips about family loyalty. I pulled out my planner and crossed off another item. Financial aid. Office. Health insurance options. The meeting had gone better than expected. You'd qualify for the university plan, the counselor had told me. Coverage starts next month. My father's email. Threat to remove me from their insurance had lost its power. The bakery schedule for weekend shifts sat in my planner, the only job I kept, not from necessity, but because I genuinely enjoyed the work. The scent of sourdough, the quiet hours. Before sunrise, the satisfaction of creating something with my hands. Mr. Sullivan even bumped my pay after I cut back my hours. Quality over quantity, he'd said, patting my shoulder. A text chimed from Talia. Asterisk, they called my phone again. Want me to block them too? Asterisk, please. I responded. Flying monkeys everywhere this week. Aunt Patricia had called yesterday. Cousin Michael the day before. Always the same script, concern about the misunderstanding with my parents. Grandma Lorraine's legal letter establishing boundaries hadn't stopped their campaign, but it had given me solid ground to stand on. I pulled out a letter from my backpack, the carefully worded email I'd sent to extended family last week, printed and read so many times the creases were starting to tear. Not an accusation, but a simple statement of facts. No embellishments needed when the truth was damning enough. Most had stopped calling after that. The silence felt like victory. My gaze drifted to the library window. Students crossed the quad, their laughter carrying faintly through the glass. Last semester, I would have watched them with hollow envy there. Carefree existence so different from my desperate scramble to survive. The worn spiral notebook beside my textbook held my weekly budget. Black numbers instead of red. Enough for rent, food, books, even a small emergency fund growing by the week. The sensation still startled me, this absence of constant financial panic. I stretched my shoulders, feeling muscles that no longer ached from double shifts. My body was remembering how to exist without constant exhaustion. My last biology test came back with an A, the first since freshman year. My phone lit up again, not my mother this time, but Clark. I stared at my brother's name on the screen, my finger hovering over the decline button. We hadn't spoken since Grandma's birthday dinner. Part of me expected another attack, another attempt to pull me back into their reality. But something made me answer. Hello. My voice sounded wary even to my own ears. Rhea. His voice sounded different, steadier, lacking the slick confidence that once coated his words like oil. It's me. I know who it is, Clark. I gathered my books, moving toward the library's quiet zone where my conversation wouldn't disturb others. I'm calling from Pinewood Recovery Center. A pause. I've been here for 2 weeks. The unexpected words stopped me mid-step. Rehab? Yeah. He took an audible breath. I'm doing a step where I make amends. But this isn't about checking boxes, Rhea. I need to say this. I leaned against the wall, bracing myself for manipulation disguised as apology. I knew about the money, Clark says. All of it. I knew they were taking what Grandma sent for. You. His voice cracked slightly. I watched you work yourself sick while I gambled away. Thousands. I didn't stop them. I didn't help you. The simple admission hit harder than any elaborate apology could. No excuses. No expectations. I don't expect forgiveness, he continued. Into my silence. I just needed you to hear that I know what I did, what we all did to you. For the first time in years, I heard my actual brother, not the golden child, not the entitled man-child, but Clark. Fallible, damaged Clark. Thank you for telling me. I finally said, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounded. Perhaps the biggest miracle wasn't the money, or the rest, or even the improved grades. It was this. Standing firmly in my truth while feeling the ground beneath me, solid and sure. 2 days later, I was meeting my brother. The coffee shop window framed the October mountains. Like a postcard. I checked my watch again 10 minutes early. My stomach nodded as I rehearsed what I'd say when Clark arrived. 3 months since Grandma's birthday dinner felt both forever. And yesterday, the bell above the door chimed. I looked up. For a moment, I didn't recognize him. Gone was the bloated face and bloodshot eyes. This Clark stood taller, his shoulders squared, beneath a simple gray sweater rather than his usual designer labels. His hands, once constantly fidgeting, rest steady at his sides. Rhea, he hesitated at my table. Thank you for meeting me. I gestured to the empty chair, not trusting my voice yet. The wooden seat scraped against the floor as he sat. You look different, I said finally. A small smile touched his mouth. 92 days. Sober. He drummed his fingers once on the table, then stills them. They say the body starts healing faster than the mind. The waitress arrived with my black coffee. Clark ordered herbal tea, another surprise. When we were alone again, he pulled a worn leather notebook from his pocket and placed it between us. I've been working on my 4th step, making a fearless moral inventory. My psychology classes flashed through my mind the 12 steps of recovery. I waited. I knew about the money, Rhea. His voice dropped so low I had to lean forward. From the beginning, I knew Dad was taking what Grandma sent for you. The confirmation hit harder than I expected. Somehow hearing it from him made the betrayal solid, undeniable. It started small, Clark continued, eyes on his notebook. 5 years ago, I lost $200 on a football game. Dad covered it, told me not to worry. He chuckled, a humorless sound. By last year, I was $12,000 in debt to people who don't send polite collection notices. I watched his hands steady but white-knuckled now. When Grandma started sending your monthly allowance, Dad suggested borrowing from it temporarily. Just once, he said. Clark finally met my eyes. I didn't object. I was afraid of the people I owed money to, and I was afraid of disappointing him. Even more. Outside, fallen leaves skittered across the sidewalk. A child laughed somewhere down the street. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because you deserve the truth. And because I'm not asking for forgiveness. He opened the notebook, revealing neat columns of figures. This is everything. Dates, amounts, where the money went. My therapist says I can't make proper amends without full disclosure. The pages blurred before me. $28,000. My college fund. My food. My heat. In winter. Mom and Dad, my voice cracked. They refuse to see any of this as wrong, don't they? Clark closed the notebook. They declined family counseling, said they'd handled enough family drama with my rehab. He rubbed his temple. My therapist explained it. They created this whole system where I was simultaneously the golden child and the eternal screw-up. You were the responsible one who needed nothing. I needed parents, I whispered. I know, his voice broke. We both did, just in different ways. Sunlight shifted through the window, painting golden rectangles on our table. An old Willie Nelson song played softly through the cafe speakers, reminding me of rides in Grandma's car. They've asked me to fix things with you, Clark said. To bring you back into the fold, their words. I straightened. And? I told them no. He looked up, something new in his eyes. I told them I wouldn't be their messenger anymore, that what they did was unforgivable. The unexpected alliance caught me off guard. My throat tightened. I don't know if I can forgive you, I said. Honestly, but I respect what you're doing now. Clark nodded, accepting this. I understand. I wrapped my hands around my coffee cup, drawing warmth from the ceramic. I have conditions for any relationship with them. Real therapy, not just one session for show. Actual accountability. They won't do it, Clark said softly. Not now anyway. Then I can't have them in my life. The words fell like stones, heavy but necessary. And any relationship with you depends on your continued recovery. That's fair. He closed the notebook. More than fair. We sat in silence for a long moment. Not comfortable, but not hostile either. Something new taking shape between us, fragile as a soap bubble, but real. You remind me of Grandma, Clark said suddenly. She visited me in rehab last week, same steel spine. A smile touched my lips. Highest compliment you could give me. When we left the coffee shop an hour later, Clark didn't hug me or make promises about the future. Instead, he said something that stayed with me long after. We were both damaged by different sides of the same coin. I watched him walk away, his posture straight in a way I'd never seen before. For the first time, I saw him not as the favored son or the family disaster, but as another survivor of our parents' broken love. The mountains stood sentinel against the autumn sky as I turned toward campus, each step feeling somehow lighter than before. And I would finally find my peace again in 6 months. The spring sunshine bathed the quad in golden light as I crossed campus toward the library. Textbooks no longer weighed down my shoulders like concrete blocks, partly because I could finally afford the digital versions, but mostly because I stood taller these days. Professor Henley waved from the steps of the science hall. Ria, just reviewed your research analysis. Exceptional work. I'd like to expand your position next semester if you're interested. 6 months ago, I would have stammered through my response. Today, I met her eyes directly. I'd love that opportunity. Thank you. She smiled, tapping her folder. Your perspective on community banking practices is refreshing. Have you considered applying for the Wilcox Fellowship? The fellowship, a prestigious summer opportunity I'd never dreamed of pursuing. Now, the possibility unfurled before me like an invitation. I'll submit my application next week, I told her. Warmth spreading through my chest as she nodded approvingly. Inside my bag, my phone buzzed with a text from Talia. * Miami pics uploaded. Still can't believe we pulled it off. * the memory brought an involuntary smile. 4 days of sunshine, our first real vacation. Nothing extravagant, a budget motel room shared with 2 other girls, street food instead of restaurants. But the freedom of those days still lingered in my bones. The sensation of sand between my toes. Laughter bubbling up from some long untapped spring inside me. Sleeping past sunrise simply because I could. I found an empty bench beneath a sprawling oak tree and pulled out my planner. The pages no longer contained desperate calculations stretching every dollar. Instead, they held possibility. Study sessions, research deadlines, weekend shifts at the bakery I now kept because I enjoyed the work and the people. The scent of fresh bread still brought comfort, but no longer represented survival. My phone rang. Grandma Lorraine's name lit up the screen. How's my favorite academic? Superstar. Her voice carried the smile I couldn't see. Just got offered an expanded research position, I told her, unable to keep the pride from my voice. That doesn't surprise me one bit. Something rustled in the background. She was probably working in her garden. Did you see the campus housing application I emailed for you and Talia next year? Filled it out this morning. 2-bedroom with a real kitchen. The prospect still felt miraculous. Wonderful. Pause. I've booked my flight for graduation weekend. Too early, I know, but hotel rooms fill up fast. This was new for both of us, planning futures instead of managing crises. I closed my eyes against unexpected tears. I'd like to take you to dinner, she continued. Celebrate that dean's list achievement properly. My counselor called it building new associations, replacing memories of family gatherings fraught with tension with healthier experiences. One meal, one conversation, one accomplishment at a time. After we hung up, I found the envelope tucked between textbook pages, Mother's handwriting. The letter I'd carried for 3 days without opening. No urgency pressed on me now, no desperate need to please. No fear of rejection. Just a quiet acknowledgement that whatever words waited inside cannot define me. I slipped it back unopened. Perhaps tomorrow. Perhaps next week. There. Timeline no longer dictated mine. As afternoon slid toward evening, I walked toward the library. The path mirrored one I took countless times last year. Same bricks, same century-old buildings. But the woman walking felt reborn. In the window's reflection, I caught a glimpse of myself. Shoulders squared, chin lifted, eyes clear. The last golden light of day brushed campus with warmth. For the first time in years, I felt it reach all the way inside me, not just touching my skin, but illuminating something essential that was always there, waiting to be recognized. I am more than what was done to me. I am what I choose to become.